about to step up here. His name is Ian Folau, is that correct, Ian? And he is a former military captain and co-founder and CEO of GitLinks, and also the New York City chapter leader of Vets in Tech, and a blog author at www.themilitaryentrepreneur.com. And he is working to bring vets into the entrepreneurial space. Is that correct? Great. So please, let's give Ian a warm hand as he gets up here.
Hey everybody, thanks for having me today. I'm really excited to talk today. These opportunities are opportunities for me to really come out and get anxiety all over again and have butterflies in my stomach. And I really think those are opportunities to really try to grow and try to become better. So, like he said, I was in the military prior to starting my own business now, and that's what I do full time. I was going to talk a little bit about communication today, and that's kind of the theme of why we're all here today. I have to admit I'm not a good communicator, and my wife will say that that's been for a very long time. But I have picked up some things over time, and I want to talk a little bit about kind of the 3 phases in my own life where I've kind of done big pivots and big changes in my life, and the things that I picked up since doing those changes. Hopefully, I'm a little bit better communicator now. When I went to undergrad at West Point, so a military academy, which teaches you how to be a leader, how to be a leader of character, inspire people, lead them into battle. So I did that, and I went 4 years there where they were challenging me with opportunities to speak to people and communicate in a way that will get them to throw all their armor on and follow me. When I got to the Army, so when I graduated, I got to the Army, for some reason, my mind just went blank. And all that inspiring, all that motivating, all that talk just went out the window. Don't know what happened, but I remember going to my first unit for the first time. I was walking down the stairs. I was in Germany. It was this old German beat-down firehouse. So I'm walking down the basement. That's where my soldiers are. And I'm walking through the door to meet my soldiers for the first time, and they're all standing there looking at me. And I'm just this fresh college graduate, and all these guys are more experienced than I am. They're a lot older than I am, and I'm supposed to be leading these guys. So I don't know what to do. I look for the oldest guy there, the highest rank. I say, "Hey, Sergeant, what am I supposed to do? What do we do around here?" And he's like, "Sir, we take orders from above and we do them." And I say, cool, all right, we can do that. So I started to do that for the next few months. We just waited on orders to come down, and then we do them, and we execute them. And then I realized, a little bit later, a few months later, that, I was not inspiring anybody. I was not motivating anyone to get out of bed and come to work and work. And that's not the person I wanted to be. That's not how, West Point taught me to be. I realized that what motivates people is when you don't live in the status quo. What people like is to know that you are reaching for something that's away from the mainstream. And that's what they gravitate to. So I learned that as I continued on in my Army career, that I'm not just going to go in and obey orders. I'm going to look at the situation. I'm going to find opportunities to do better than everybody else did. And once I start putting that on a flagpole, everybody's running to that flagpole and everybody's following. So that's the number one lesson I learned while in the military is not being in the status quo, but trying to strive for a dream, and other people follow. I also did that in entrepreneurship. I really started my entrepreneurial career while in the Army. I started dabbling, and when people go home at night and sit down on a couch and watch TV, I would go home at night and I'd sit in front of a desk and I'd teach myself how to build a website, or I'd explore and try to figure out if there's any business opportunities or new investment ideas that I can invest in. And as I started to do that, I started to realize that the more I did that, the more I talked about it, the more people would come to me and start talking to me. It was very interesting. It's just speaking to that point again, that when you have something that's above the status quo is kind of a magnet. People are coming to you because you have these great ideas and you're thinking outside of the box. I take that now into my first pivot. So I pivoted from the Army for my military career after almost a decade, and decided I was going to give it up and go become a civilian. So how do you become a civilian? I had no idea, and this is something I did not realize when I was leaving the Army, how different those two worlds are. Not only did I not understand the civilian world, the civilians did not understand the military world. My resume looked like this. I was a battalion S2 of an airborne brigade combat team. I was a company commander responsible for 40 plus personnel, managing millions of dollars of equipment. That meant nothing to anybody, but it meant a lot to me, right? So what I understood was I had to speak a totally different language, and something that I lucked out with was there was a couple of veterans that I became in communication with that knocked me over the head and say, stop talking like that. Like you're not being understood by people. The way people talk is totally different than the way that you were raised with. And instead of talking about my titles, my responsibilities, you should talk about your values. What value do you bring to all those organizations you were a part of? What value are you going to bring to this new organization you want to become a part of? And talk about that. So instead of talking about being an intelligence collection coordinator, I started talking about being a data scientist or a data analyst. I collect multiple streams of data and I analyze that and I come up with predictions for the future, and stuff that was valuable to the organizations I was talking to. They would have no idea if I told them I was a battalion S2, what that actually meant. So that was one of the lessons I learned while moving into the civilian world. The other lesson that I was able to reconfirm was that people, again, love to hear about dreams. So I had a lot of dreams, obviously. I left the Army because I wanted to start my own company. So I started telling people about that. I started telling everybody that, my friends, my brother, my neighbor, and I was not afraid of it. And I always encourage people to talk about their dreams, because if you hold them inside, no one's going to hear about it and nobody can help you. When you start to voice it, when you start to communicate a dream, people are really, really willing to help. It's really what kind of pushed me in the direction I am today, is by just telling people that I wanted to start a company. Suddenly I had co-founders coming to me, other developers that wanted to build the business with me. I had people introducing me to venture capitalists, introducing me to investors, introducing me to people that were in the same, had walked that same path, a couple years ahead of me. But it's all because I just voiced it. I voiced a dream that was stuck in my head, and I put it out into words. It's really the power of it's this magnet from the universe of, if you say it enough, it's going to happen. And I attest to that. I'm going to talk a little bit about, as kind of wrapping up my lessons in communication. One of the biggest challenges I'm in right now, I'm currently in, is I, again, am the CEO and the co-founder of a company that is, raising money. So I'm constantly on the road, speaking with VCs, speaking with investors, and that's a difficult challenge. Difficult to get your message across. Something that I've learned over all my pitches. I've probably pitched to over now 50 VCs here in the city. And in each message gets a little bit crisper, gets a little bit more intense and a little bit more necessary. And that's where you really want to be. So that's where I found myself to be a little bit more effective, is when I started to talk in very urgent words. For instance, I'll give you a couple of examples. What I do at my company is we look at open source software. And we help companies use open source software. That's the whole theme of the company. What I used to tell people is we help you search for the best open source solutions. So I was using the word search. This was not going over too well. When you talk about search, you're talking about, hey, there's this massive pool of opportunity and options out there, and you can just start sifting through it. It's a very weak word, one that wasn't resonating very well. So searching seems like a daunting task. So we moved on to another word, and we started using discovery. So we help you discover the world of open source. Discover sounds a little bit more like an opportunity that I might be missing out on. So it was a little bit more active. We started getting a little bit more activity in there, but it still wasn't enough. Recently, we've now changed that word discover to the word prevent. Prevent doesn't sound like anything like discovery. It also doesn't sound like search. But what it really means is we're preventing bad stuff from coming into your company. So you're not just searching for good stuff, you're preventing bad stuff. Now that word prevent has resonated way more than search ever did. So the words that you use are very important, and that's something that we've learned over our time with meeting with a lot of VCs. Just as a last roundup of my lessons learned from meeting with VCs, they want to know first, and I'm sure there's plenty of entrepreneurs out here, and maybe some that are looking for money right now, but they want to know first that you have a business, right? You're working in a place that needs a business because there's a need that people are willing to pay for to fix. And that's the first problem. Then they want to know how you're going to solve that. A lot of times I think we get too far into the weeds as entrepreneurs, and we start talking about tech. We start talking about, this is going to do this, and then it's going to be able to help us do this, and then it's going to be able to, visualize this way. Start with the big picture. Start with this is the product. The user will do this, and it'll end up like this. And then get into, this is how that all happens. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes I made was I was getting too far into the weeds right off the bat. Start with the big picture, go a little bit further down when they're ready for that. But you just don't want to cloud up your communication or your message when you get to a VC. All in all, I want to end there. I think you guys are doing great things, and communication obviously has played a big role in my life. I'm hoping to be a better communicator, and again, events like this, opportunities like this for me to get up in front of you and get all the butterflies out of my stomach are really cool opportunities to, if I don't have those opportunities anymore, I don't think I'm doing the right thing, right? I don't think I'm challenging myself enough. I don't think I'm actually progressing in my own life if I'm not having anxiety every once in a while, if I'm not scared to go to this meeting or I'm scared to go talk to this person. That's not where I want to be. I want to constantly be challenging myself. I encourage you guys to continue to challenge yourselves and dream big. Follow those dreams, pronounce those dreams, let them out of your mouth. It's only by letting those dreams out of your mouth that you'll see really the universe come gather around you and help you pursue those. And that's all I got for you. Thanks.
And we're green. Well done, Ian. Thank you so much. I particularly appreciated the sincerity with which you came across. I mean, I can tell deep down inside you could probably paralyze me with 1.5 fingers. And yet, inside all of this strength and the military training is a sweetness. And he lets that come across, and it endears us to him. It reminds me of my favorite Aesop's fable. Obviously, there are many great ones, but the one that's at the forward of my latest book, The Heart of Vocal Harmony, is the one about the wind and the sun. Do you know this Aesop's fable? The wind and the sun end up making a bet. They see a man walking down the street, and they make a bet as to which one can get his coat off faster and more efficiently. So the wind says, I'll go first, and the wind blows and blows and blows, and the person just huddles up tighter and holds that coat around. And then the sun says, okay, my turn. Sun comes out, shines a rays, and the person takes their own coat off. There's something really powerful about disarming people, about being genuine, sincere, and letting people open up to whatever your message is. And that's not what I got from the nature or the specifics of what you were saying, but that's what I got from the nature of your presentation, personally. And I think that's a really important message. So thank you. Yeah.